Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be a very good day. First of all, thank you so much. Those who subscribe to my channel is really inspiring. And if you're new to my channel, please continue supporting my channel by clicking subscribe and sharing this content. Moving on to this photograph. First of all, before I jump into this edit, I'd like to make some few disclaimers. No, it's nothing to do with any kind of affiliation with any kind of company. It's more about how I do my editing. This is not just about this particular edit. This is more about how every single tool in a photography software works. So I will go in depth with each tool and why they work so that you can learn and use the same tools for different type of photograph. So it's kind of one in all edit process. Jumping in, I'm going to show you the exe file of this photograph. So if you look at the left hand side, it shows that it's f22. As you wonder why all the flares are kind of like star-like, it's because it's a high f-stop. So my objective was to have this bridge heading to the mountain on the water when the sun is in the background. So it was a challenging photograph, but I made it happen. If you're wondering about all the flares, it's totally normal. It's actually really authentic. So it makes the photo looks even better. Now, those who've been following my edit knows that how I edit my photograph. I usually start with the lens correction. So I'm gonna go to the lens correction first and check everything is alright or no. I don't need to change any kind of lens profile because it's Fuji, so it's been looked after already by Fuji camera. But I'm going to turn on my chromatic aberration because obviously it's against high f-stop. So high f-stop means that it can create some trouble with chromatic aberrations or diffraction, etc. So I always turn this one on usually. Now distortion, again, I don't need to really worry about it because it's been looked after already in Fuji lens and they're all amazing anyway. And shading in Silkypix Developer Studio Pro means that vignetting. So as you can see that you have like a nice vignette in the corner. I would rather keep them because it's actually doing the job for me, which is interesting because usually you would add some vignetting at the end of the photograph sometime. In this case, I would, and it's already been looked after. So instead of getting rid of it like that, I would rather keep it to make sure that it looks nice and centered. So you can actually, I can draw the viewer's attention to this bridge all the way to the mountain. Now that part is done. Now white balance. Now white balance is already been looked after as well. At the time of the photograph, it's about 5175. That's fine because I'm looking at making this photograph into monochrome, black and white. So white balance is not my biggest concern. Now I'm going to the color tab on the left hand side. In the profile, I have Fuji film simulation, which is the actual film simulation. Fuji happens to be in Silkypix Developer Studio Pro 10. Obviously, if you're using Fuji, you're obliged to use Acros. Acros is probably one of the best black and white profile I have ever came across. By any mean, I don't mean to say that Canon or Nikon or Sony are not good enough, but I like this particular film simulation. So those viewers who are not using a Fuji camera but happens to be my channel watching this video, I recommend you to use any other black and white because I love black and white in general, just to assure you. Before I jump into Affinity Photo to do some further retouching, I would like to finish with my default noise reduction and sharpening. Don't worry, the software does a very good job with their default mode, which is beautiful. I have a very good faith on this software. Now finally, I like to finish with demosaic sharpening. Now demosaic sharpening, those who doesn't know, is basically Silkypix allows you to add input sharpening. Now different software does different job. They all have their own way to add input sharpening. Silkypix allow you to manually put it, although they will give you that little mark over there, as you can see. Can you see it? That's the one. That means Silkypix recommends you to add about 85 for this particular raw file. If you're using higher ISO, you will see that it's significantly reduced because higher sharpness means that higher noticeable noise. I'm done with everything else, but now, even though I really love this sun, but what I could do, I could actually reduce the strength of the sun so that I can draw the attention more on the ground. So what I can do, I can add this little circle. Make sure this nice and round, covering every aspect of the sun. Now add some feather, then reduce not too much, just about -5. Then I'm going to stop right before you start to see this dark hollow. That's not good at all. If you can see it, it's a bad edit. So you should always make sure that you stop right before you start to see some dark hollow around the edge. So I'm gonna stop right there. It looks about quite natural, and I'm going to verify it. Maybe what I can do, I could bring the partial correction back again, stop at 5. So maybe, yep, that looks about right. Now that looks good. Everything looks beautiful. One last thing I would like to do before I head to Affinity Photo is reducing the highlight just a touch. I keep saying that one last, but I always doing something else, and probably reducing the haze in the background. Not too much though. I love haze. Nice, lovely morning, beautiful sunset on a lake. I mean, things cannot go wrong with the haze. That's totally fine. I just love it anyway. Now finally, what I can do, I could add some more gamma. So I go to the curve and go at the lower end of the midtone and then pull it up just a notch. But I don't want to affect the sky, so I'm going to bring down the highlight quite a bit. Now we are looking good. I can easily now export this to Affinity Photo. So I'm going to go to the open with other application and click photo. Now we are going to wait and then see how it's gonna work. Now I'm going to close down the application that I don't really need. For example, the Silkypix, I think its job is done. So I'm going to turn this on off. Now in Affinity Photo, I'm going to add a couple of duplicates with Ctrl J. There you go. Now I'm done with the Ctrl J. Now I'm going to turn the other layers off. Now first thing I would like to do, I love curve and I like to play with it quite a lot. So I'm going to turn on curve. In curve, in master, I'm going to change it to, first of all, red. My objective here to add more red in the shadow. So I'm going to pull the red up from the shadow area and bring down in the mid-tone. But I have to make sure that this is nice and aligned so that it doesn't reduce any kind of red from the highlight and mid-tone. Now, as you can clearly see, I have this nice color cast red one in the shadow area. So this is before and after. Now, moving on to the green. So green gonna be the sky or the highlight area. So I'm gonna go to the highlight area, pull it up, but then bring down from the upper mid-tone to make sure that everything else remains exactly the same. So again, I'm going to show you before and after. Now I've done red, green, now finally blue. So mid-tone going to be a lot bluer. So I'm going to add some blue in the mid-tone, quite a bit actually, but reduce in the highlight and the shadow. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring down the mid-tone just about there. Now check this one out. I'm going to turn off and turn on. How beautiful. In fact, as a matter of fact, honestly speaking, even the previous one is not that bad either. It's just a personal choice. I love adding kind of like a colorful vintage look on my black and white because it gives like a different, finer looking feeling. And it's minimalist, so you have to be very careful. Now, step number 1 is done. The step number 2 would be getting rid of some flare. The flares are nice, flares are fine, but you don't want too much of it. So you have to get rid of some of them from the unnecessary areas. How can you do that? You can go to In Paint tool, go down at the bottom, select the background. So add and get rid of some of them. Again, you don't need to be very fussy about it. Flares are totally natural. It actually makes the photo looks beautiful. I like it, so I don't want you to worry about it too much. Maybe I can get rid of that. And we are looking good. I don't want to get rid of too much because this flare actually giving a really good character. The photo is sharp, so you don't want to add some more sharpness into it. As you can clearly see, this photo looks phenomenal. Let me show you this photograph in 3, 2, 1. I hope this tutorial has been very useful to you. If so, again, please like and subscribe. It will help me so much to continue this channel. I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye bye.